It is another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the 4 films released on July 24th, 2009. See, we're moving it up a little bit here. We're doubling the amount of films we've had over the last couple of weeks. I think we've only had 2 movies for like 4 consecutive weeks, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 4 consecutive weeks. It's been nothing but 2 movies in a row, and for the summer, that's very, very unusual, but we'll get to the movies in general. We're going to start off, of course, with the big new release of the weekend. Lo and behold, look at what I'm wearing. A Disney t-shirt. Why? Because the #1 movie that came out this weekend was a Disney film. Actually, this has nothing to do with the fact that this first movie we're going to look at is a Disney movie. I just had it in my pile of clothes ready to wear next. But hey, for a movie like this to take down Harry Potter, it's got to be good, right? So let's see the movie that took down Harry Potter after just 1 week at the box office. So Harry Potter lost to a bunch of farting guinea pig spies? That's got to be embarrassing for Harry Potter. I mean, maybe this is the real evil of the Harry Potter series, not Lord Voldemort. The fact that the Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince lost out the second weekend of its box office to a movie called G-Force, which literally features a bunch of CG guinea pigs who are secret agents, and some of them like to fart a lot. I mean, that's literally what happens in this movie. But believe it or not, excuse me, believe it or not, it's not as bad as you think it is. With that said, though, it's still pretty bad. As I said before, this is a film about a secret organization of guinea pigs who have been trained to be agents, equipped with advanced tools, including an advanced earpiece that allows the mammalian members to talk to humans. You have the team leader, Darwin, played by Sam Rockwell, Juarez, played by Penelope Cruz, Blaster, played by Tracy Morgan, and Speckles, the mole, voiced by Nicolas Cage. I keep forgetting that's him as the voice of him. I thought that was Steve Buscemi, but their keeper is Ben, played by Zach Galifianakis, who's already having a good summer with The Hangover. He's got 2 big hit movies this summer, so you gotta give him that. But when the government shuts them down, the team escapes only to end up in a pet store where they meet 2 other guinea pigs, voiced by Jon Favreau and Steve Buscemi. That's the Steve Buscemi that's the character in this movie, is the other guinea pig. But the team tries to stop an evil villain played by Bill Nighy, who plans world domination with his brand of coffee makers that come to life and turn them into little transformers. Okay, basically they don't call them that, but that's pretty much what they are in this movie. I'm guessing this is Disney's answer to Transformers because, yeah, they literally morph into robots that are literally like the Transformers. But little does the team know that Saber may not be the only one behind all the chaos. And also you see Kelly Garner and also Will Arnett in here as well. And yeah, let's just get down to the nitty-gritty of it. This is not a very good movie. I mean, this thing suffers from the typical flaws you can see that I can't stand in the movie. Like I said, the fart jokes. There are 3 different fart jokes on one character played by Jon Favreau, and none of them are clever. Alvin and the Chipmunks at least did it once, and it was kind of funny, but not enough for me to say like it was a great joke or anything, but it was still kind of annoying, but it could have been a whole lot worse. And when I mean a whole lot worse, I mean stuff like Year One and The Love Guru, which had fart jokes every 5 minutes in each of the film. It feels like they put that in there because, you know, it was something to keep the kids invested for some reason, because clearly Disney was on there. When you look at the chart type of mentality with that, but the twist of the end of the film on who the bad guy really is so predictable. From the second you see him on screen, and the second that he dies in the middle of the film, you know he's coming back and he's the real bad guy behind this. But despite all that, there are still some things I kind of enjoyed about the film. For example, the voice work is surprisingly really good. I thought Tracy Morgan was actually a ton of fun in this movie. Like I said, Nicolas Cage as Speckles the Mole, was actually kind of amusing. I completely forgot that he was that voice in general. The human roles are fine for what they are. I thought that everybody played their parts very well, with, in general, a lackluster script overall. And also, the 3D also kind of helps the movie in general. This is a film where I don't think it was necessarily all the way shot in digital 3D, but you could definitely tell that if you saw this in theaters in 3D, it did look like they were trying their best to actually make it look like a 3D film. I mean, it looks better than the post-production 3D trend that we're going to get into the year later on, but it's not anywhere near as good as Ice Age Dawn of the Dinosaurs was up to that point, which I thought at that point had the best digital 3D of any film release. But I mean, it's not the worst thing you could see this summer. I mean, it's something where, you see it, kids will enjoy for what it is, and certainly considering when it comes out next week, one of my worst movie picks of all time, I would rather have them watch this movie than watch the next film we're going to look at next week. The next week meaning the next episode, of course, not next week we're going to be looking at something. But no, tomorrow, basically, what I'm trying to say. But one thing I do want to bring up, though, is that this director, Hoyt Naiman Jr., it's a name you might not be familiar with, but it's definitely a name that you'll recognize his work for. He actually was part of the team that won the Oscar for making The Abyss. He's worked on a bunch of Jerry Bruckheimer movies. After all, Jerry Bruckheimer is the producer of this. Armageddon, Con Air, The Rock. This was his directorial debut, and so far it's only been his one film that he's ever done, which kind of sucks because it's not badly directed at all. And I mean, this is a guy that probably could have gone a long way as a director as a whole. And the film wasn't even that bad, didn't even underperform. It did pretty well. It made more than two times its budget overall. $292 million over a $150 million budget, which I'm realizing that, yeah, I mean, for 2009, that's still pretty eccentric for an original concept where you have CG guinea pigs in 3D, and yeah, they're secret agents and all that. Yeah, it's a weird movie. It's definitely not as bad as you would think it is, but it's still not a great movie overall. It's still kind of a bland, mediocre film, but I'll give it credit. It was much more enjoyable than I thought it was ever going to be. I mean, it's a film that could have easily been dead on arrival, but for what it is what it is, man. It's not a great movie, but I would say it's a much better movie for the kids out there than what's going to come up the next week after this movie gets released, but once again, we'll delve into that tomorrow, But until then, let's go ahead and move on to, I'd rather watch G-Force again than have to watch the next movie, and that is Katherine Heigl and Gerard Butler starring in The Ugly Truth. So remind me again, Katherine Heigl, why you thought this movie was okay, but Knocked Up was seen as way too sexist. I mean, Jesus Christ, this movie is absolutely abysmal. Like, I didn't hate it back then, but watching it again, it's just kind of like, wow, this is much worse than I thought it was. And it, like I said, it goes against everything that Katherine Heigl said was completely sexist about Knocked Up. Well, you know what? Knocked Up was a much better movie than anything you made after that. Okay, 27 Dresses is the one exception, but then again, that was boasted by, James Marsden. James Marsden can do no wrong pretty much, but in this movie, you have Katherine Heigl starring as a romantically challenged TV producer who can't stand her new male chauvinistic star, Mike, played by Gerard Butler in one of his movies after 300 success, until he agrees to help her find love with her next-door neighbor, using his instincts and expertise, which basically means that that guy is not the future for her. It's gonna be Gerard Butler. I mean, it's literally the same plot we've seen done to death before so many times, except the fact that, this is a comedy that's also an R-rated comedy, so we got to make it more raunchier, we got to make it more grosser than it has to be. And while it doesn't quite go into the sweetest thing territory in terms of its lazy attempts to try to be raunchy and gross, it's pretty close, and it doesn't help that these characters are the most bland stock characters you'll ever come across here. I mean, this is about as generic and as bland of a movie as you're ever going to get here. This is not even a funny movie. The chemistry overall is fine, I guess, but at the same time, you just can't help but look at Katherine Heigl and look at this and go, like, you really thought that this was completely not sexist at all, but that a good movie like Knocked Up or 27 Dresses was just way too much for you. Like, it's just something that I know I've been saying it a lot during this, but it's just something that you can't just overlook, especially when you see all the stuff that happens in this movie. Like, it goes completely against everything that she believes in. It's basically her being a hypocrite, pretty much. And again, it's going to amount to the same damn thing we've seen over and over again. She's going to realize that Gerard Butler was truly the man that she needed to be in her life overall, and not the guy next door. And it's just kind of like, I don't care anymore, man. It's just really... This movie got a lot worse in the years since I saw it. I didn't think it was that bad at first. I think I still had the DVD for it, which, when I go through my collection in the next couple of months, it's the one I'm definitely going to be getting rid of, no question about it. But, yeah, bottom line, this movie sucks. This is not a very good movie. It's a lazy film, and, yeah, it didn't work for me. And well, maybe I'm not the only one, because it was panned mostly by critics, but audiences made it a hit, over $200 million worldwide on a $38 million budget, so... There you go. And Katherine Heigl was able to make more bad movies after this. And you know what? This is probably one of her better movies considering what's coming up after this, with Killers and also One for the Money, and just these bad movies one after another. Like this, maybe I should be grateful for this, because we're going to get into the real crux of the terrible movies coming up in the next couple of years. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which has gained some new life after being kind of mostly forgotten when it first came out. This is Orphan. So it's basically The Good Son, except if Macaulay Culkin was replaced with a girl, pretty much. I mean, it's literally almost the same plot here. You have a story centering around a couple who, after the death of their unborn child, adopt a psychopathic 9-year-old girl with a mysterious past. She's played by Isabella Fuhrman, and the couple is played by Vera Farmiga and Peter Sarsgaard. Insert obvious situations where the kid has to show she's nice at the beginning, and then as time goes on, she reveals her evil side, including trying to kill as many people as she can and trying to ruin as many relationships as she can. And yeah, it's pretty much what you think it is, and it really isn't anything that spectacular. At least to me, it didn't really wow. I completely lost my train of thought there. It didn't really wow me at the time, and even though there's good people involved in the fit-making of this, you have Jamie Collet-Serra, who could be a very good, fun director overall, and David Leslie Johnson, who of course is now more known for his work with the Conjuring series, and also the DC Extended Universe with the Aquaman movies. The film overall is fine, I guess. I mean, there's nothing really that bad about it per se, but just nothing really about it made me say, oh, I'm glad I saw this movie. I'm just kind of like, I mean, you made a better version of the Good Son, I guess you could probably say about that. And it did find an audience eventually. I mean, it came and went when it first came out, but then the prequel came out in 2022, not but a couple of years ago, and that turned out to be a much bigger hit than anybody was really expecting, and actually got a lot better reviews than this movie did. So I guess now this is officially a franchise overall. So I mean, there you go. That's the power of, letting a film stand around for a little bit, even though it wasn't successful at first. Let time go by, and all of a sudden, here you go. Here's another one of those movies that becomes a franchise down the road. I mean, it's quite different from what I've been talking about before with most sequels that come way after. Like, this isn't like Beverly Hills Cop or Coming to America, where it's just being made because of the namesake. Hell, they just announced the Practical Magic sequel's coming out next year. Why? Like, what memorability does that movie have in particular? Oh, because Disney had Hocus Pocus 2 coming a couple years ago. Again, another pointless sequel. But this, I guess somebody found it. I guess an audience did find their way to this at some point. This is now continuing into a franchise that is now going to have another film coming up after this. After, I think they're already starting to shoot it, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, that's all I got for you on this one. That is Orphan. So let's go ahead and move on to the last movie that we have here, which is Armando Iannucci's In the Loop. Finally, the epic battle between Doctor Who and Tony Soprano that everybody was asking for, am I right? Okay, maybe not, but you do have Tony Soprano and Doctor Who in here, James Gandolfini and Peter Capaldi. The U.S. President and the U.K. Prime Minister fancy a war, but not everyone agrees that war is a good thing. The U.S. General Miller doesn't think so, and neither does the British Secretary of State for International Development, Simon Foster, But after Simon accidentally backs military action on TV, he suddenly has a lot of friends in Washington, D.C. If Simon can get in with the right DC people, if his entourage of one can sleep with the right intern, and if they can both stop the Prime Minister's cheap spin doctor Malcolm Tucker rigging the vote at the UN, they can halt the war. If they don't, well, they can always sack the Director of Communications, Judy, whom they never liked anyway, and who's back home dealing with voters with blocked drains and a man who's angry about a collapsing wall. What a bizarre concept that is, and this is supposedly based off of a television series by Iannucci from Britain called The Thick of It, which I have never seen before. But if you know this person very well, you may have seen the TV series Veep, which was a big hit in the last decade. Julia Louis-Dreyfus was great on that show. Won several Emmys for comedy series, and she got several for actress in a comedy series. So very much of that style of humor is in this movie. It's a very funny, smart political satire comedy featuring a ton of great casting in this, with Capaldi, Tom Hollander, James Gandolfini, Anna Klumsky, who we'll later see in Veep, David Raish, Zach Woods from pre-Silicon Valley. Just really, really solid cast in this movie, and it is really funny too. It's a funny satire of British American politics. It feels very much they're trying to create their own little Doctor Strangelove in a way, except it's not as chaotic or over the top as that is, but this is still a lot better than some other movies that try to go this route of being satirical in politics and try, but then they end up playing it way too safe in the end. This one doesn't really do that per se. It's a very well-made film, and if you've seen Iannucci's Veep, you definitely get a lot of sense of the comedy and the style of humor they have in here. It's a really good film. It's a really clever film. Even if you've never seen the TV series like I did, like I've never seen the thick of it, you can still find a lot of good value to it overall. So it's one I definitely recommend checking out. That is In the Loop. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and we'll wrap July up on the next episode, taking a look at maybe one of the more underrated movies that got sadly overlooked by a lot of people back then. Adam Sandler and Seth Rogen starring in Judd Apatow's Funny People. And then we have one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Very much in the top 5 of my worst movies I've ever seen. A movie so bad, it's only the second film in my life that I ever walked out of. And that is, of course, Aliens in the Attic. We'll take a look at that. And then we'll take a look at the horror film The Collector. So we'll take a look at all 3 of those movies. That'll be coming up tomorrow on the show. But until then, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please go ahead and hit that playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also, don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe button, notification button, and the bell. That's where you get updates on when new videos come out. We do post new videos here every day. So, with all that said, I'm off. I'll see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.